Hello, welcome to the weather update. It is just before 8 p.m. on October 26th, 2018, and we have a storm coming our way, a pretty strong coastal storm. And as you can see, we have a number of warnings in effect for our area. We're going to start with the high wind warning. High wind warning is in effect for Suffolk County, eastern Suffolk County, and winds sustained of 25 to 35 miles an hour with gusts up to 60 miles an hour. And this is in effect from 4 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday, that is tomorrow. So there could be some trees down, could be some power outages. This is a rather strong coastal storm that is heading our way. It's on the strong side because it was, again, got some of that energy from Willa that kind of carried over, and now it's over the warm waters, and it's gonna intensify, so almost sort of like a hurricane. So we also have flash flood watches in effect, storm warning in effect. This is for offshore, so generally you don't want to be out on the water, that's for sure. Gale warnings in effect in other areas over here, and we have high surf advisories in effect, and we have coastal flood warnings in effect too as well. For our area as well, for Long Island. So there's going to be coastal flood warnings. Let's read the one for Long Island. There should be one in here for Long Island. Let's see. Okay, here we go. I think this is it. So basically, there's going to be moderate to locally major coastal flooding from tides running from 2 to 2.5 feet above astronomical tides. And we're close to a full moon, too, so widespread flooding of vulnerable areas near the waterfront and shoreline is expected. This is going to be a problem. Hardest hit probably will be eastern Long Island. This is going to be a major storm for us. Definitely a very strong nor'easter. So let's go over this briefing here from the Weather Service. Coastal flood warning issued for Saturday morning into the afternoon. Wind advisory along the coast. High wind warning, Twin Forks, Long Island. Gale and storm warnings issued for late tonight into Saturday for all waters. And coastal flood advisory for southeastern Connecticut. So coastal impacts. Moderate coastal flooding, inundation 2 to 2.5 feet locally, 3 feet above ground in vulnerable areas. Localized dune erosion. The location will be along the New York, New Jersey Harbor, Jamaica Bay, South and East Bays of Long Island, Western Long Island Sound, and the times of high tide Saturday morning into the afternoon. The marine, wind gusts of 40 to 50 knots, seas of 10 to 13 feet on the ocean, and 4 to 8 feet on the Long Island Sound, on the nearshore waters, and that is late tonight into Saturday. Strong winds, 25 to 35 miles an hour with gusts to 40 to 50 miles an hour. Highest along the coast, 60 miles per hour possible along Twin Forks, Long Island. Down trees and power lines likely. And this will be for the New York Metro, Long Island, the whole area pretty much. Late tonight to Saturday afternoon. Heavy rain, 1 to 2 inches locally higher possible. Minor flooding of urban areas and low-lying areas. And this is for the entire area. Again, late tonight into Saturday afternoon. So the summary of the greatest impacts. Coastal impacts are going to be significant. Marine impacts are going to be significant. Strong winds are going to be elevated. And the heavy rain will have limited impact because, it hasn't rained in a while. And it's going to be 1 to 2 inches, which is not something that's really that remarkable. So again, rainfall 1 to 2 inches across the area. It could be rainfall rates of 1/4 to 1/2 inch an hour. Impacts from the heavy rain, widespread minor flooding of urban areas, localized moderate poor drainage flooding in coastal areas, and low probability of minor small stream and creek flooding across northeastern New Jersey. All right, and then they say there is a heavier swath that could develop of 2 to 3 inches possible across eastern Long Island and southeastern Connecticut. The strong winds, northeast winds of 25 to 35 miles an hour, with gusts of 40 to 50 along the coast, including New York City. Gusts to 60 possible across the Twin Forks of Long Island. Northeast winds of 20 to 25 miles an hour, with gusts to 35 to 40 across the interior. And then the coastal flooding impact. Widespread moderate coastal flooding possible for vulnerable locales. Eastern bays of Long Island, New York, New Jersey Harbor, Western Long Island Sound. So there's going to be coastal flooding. So here is this event summary. Widespread minor to moderate coastal flood impacts. 2 to 2.5 feet of inundation above ground are expected across the entire coastline on Saturday. There is a low potential of major coastal impacts, around 3 feet of inundation above the ground across the most vulnerable Great South Bay and Jamaica Bay locales. Gale and storm force conditions are expected on the nearshore waters late tonight through Saturday. Strong winds of 25 to 35 miles an hour with gusts of 40 to 50 are likely late tonight through Saturday afternoon. So we've already read that before. There is a high wind warning for the East End. High wind warning for the Twin Forks of Long Island and a wind advisory for the rest of us. Anyway, let's go to the satellite imagery, and here's what I'm a little concerned about. Look at this. Look at the last frame of this. I'm going to pause it when it gets to that last frame. Hold on a second. We're going to just pause it. This is the satellite image right here. And we're going to pause it when it gets to that last frame. All right. Right there. That almost looks like an eye trying to develop. Could this thing become tropical again? Weird. Very weird, but it is heading our way. All right. All right, so again, when you have warmer than normal water offshore, this is what happens. All right, so let's go look at Ventus Sky. Right now, the current conditions, it's cool. It's been a very cool day today. Raw day, cloudy, highs struggling to reach 50 degrees. You can see there's some warmer air off to the south. It's actually getting into Tom's River a little bit in the Jersey Shore. We're going to actually move this forward into tomorrow. All right, we will look at the models, but I want to just look at this first. Let's move this into, because this really shows the circulation very well. All right, so here we go. So you can see the winds are going to pick up from the east. You can see how fast they're moving, all right? And you can see the temperatures starting to rise along the Jersey Shore. We're not really going to get into that warm air as much, but there is a lot of warm air actually that the storm is working with. It's going to be just offshore. If you take a look, you can see temperatures almost near 70 offshore. And as this thing moves up, you'll see here it is. Here's the center of circulation taking a track right along. It almost looks like a hurricane. It really almost looks like a hurricane. So I'm quite concerned about this storm being some kind of weird hybrid. You know, when you have warmer than normal waters, you can hear the circulation again, and the warmer air is actually going to go across the eastern part of Long Island, but the western part will be in the cooler air. All right, and we'll move it to 8. All right, and it's finally. It should be a little further along than that, but you see it has the circulation right over there, center of circulation, right in the between, almost right at eastern New York Harbor. That's a bad position to have for. So there's going to be the South Shore is going to get into a lot of this coastal flooding. I think the South Shore is going to get hit pretty hard by that. The other thing I want to look at, of course, move this back. I want to look at humidity, the dew points. Now, humidity won't be a factor for us, but there's going to be some really humid air that this is working with. That's going to be just offshore. So let's go into the morning here. You'll see here the higher dew points. As it gets closer, you'll see that there's going to be a really intense dew point gradient that I want to show here. You're starting to see it already. See all that warm, humid air coming into the storm. So you have warm water, warm, humid air, and it's fueling this. I'm almost calling this thing a Frankenstorm because I think it's like partially tropical because of the warm waters. And you can see here that we have this dew point gradient. So over us, dew points aren't that high, but just offshore, dew points are in the 60s, which is a little humid, all right? We'll show it again here. So again, you'll see that tight dew point gradient that exists. And that's something you see more of in an extra tropical system, but that nonetheless is, you know, adding fuel to this storm. So I want to look at the sea surface temperature anomaly, and you can see some really high sea surface temperature anomalies off the mid-Atlantic, and that's going to give the storm some energy. That's what I'm saying. It might try to have some tropical characteristics, although it won't be a tropical storm. There is warmer than normal air over the area, which it does fuel nor'easters. Warm water fuels nor'easters. Like I said, there are some parallels between nor'easters, coastal storms, and tropical systems. Some parallels, but this is more of an ex-tropical system because it is along a front. It's separating the warm, humid air from the cooler air. All right, so let's take a look at the models. Let's go to the GFS here. And we're going to look at the GFS as the 18Z GFS, and you can see this coastal storm right here on it, tracking up the coast. You can see how tight these isobars are, and that indicates high wind speeds. We're going to have some really strong winds tomorrow morning when this thing rolls through. And you can see the track, the low center on the GFS is actually right over New Jersey. So this track would definitely mean heavier rain for us because it's closer to the coast. And then it tracks away. And then behind it, we just have a little system moving through for Monday, and then fair weather for Tuesday. And then Wednesday, it looks like another front comes through, and then that front is going to stall out. And yeah, that ridge is going to try to build back, but it looks like, and then another coastal storm possibly for next weekend too. So, and then there's a tropical system that we have to watch. So, that's a ways off though. So we have, some unsettled weather along with some fair weather mixed in. We usually start seeing that once we get into November. Once we get into late October, November, we usually start seeing these coastal storms. This one is a little stronger than normal, of course. So let's actually get in a little closer. Look at our area and see. Again, this is the storm coming up the coast right here. You can see some really heavy rain. We're going to get a couple inches of rain probably out of this, and some really strong winds. Let's take a look at the rainfall. 24-hour rainfall. We'll do total accumulated rainfall. All right, see, because some really heavy rain. Could be anywhere between 1 and 2 inches of rain across our area, according to the GFS. Not historic by any means, so it's a lot of rain. It's going to be a heavy rainfall event. I'm more concerned with the winds. Let's take a look at the winds here and see what the winds are going to be. All right, so let's back it up. Here we go. So here is the storm approaching. You can see some of these really high winds. Just offshore, we have sustained winds of 40 miles an hour. Over the island, it looks like the worst of the wind is going to hit right along the immediate Jersey shore. And eastern Long Island could get into some of these sustained 40 mile an hour wind speeds. Actually, it's in knots. And then the winds will die down by the evening. So the worst of the wind event is going to be in the morning. Once it leaves, the winds will calm down. But the worst of it's going to be in the morning. That's when the worst of the wind is going to be, and probably the flooding too. With that east wind, there's going to be some coastal flooding and beach erosion for sure along the south shore. Let's see what other products we can get out of this. I want to look at... This doesn't do wind gusts, I don't think. No, it doesn't do wind gusts. I think the Ventusky does the wind gusts, so I'll have to come back to that later. Alright, so that's the GFS. Let's look at the temperature thermodynamics, so you can see the temperature difference along this front. So it's fueling this storm. You can see you have really warm air over here, tropical air, and then cool air up here. So that's why it's an extratropical system, not a tropical system, but it's very strong. And then we have, as we go into this week, we'll start off with below normal temperatures, then we go to average, and things could try to warm up by Wednesday into the 60s. So we have that ridge trying to build in late in the week, and then it gets pushed away by the weekend. All right, but that's like sort of in the long range. I'm just kind of focused on this storm right now. So let's take a look at the dew points too. I want to see, again, the dew point, you should be able to see this circulation of the storm really well. There it is, look at that. There's the dew point. So some of the higher dew points could wind up getting over Long Island for part of the day at least, and then it pulls away. So again, you can really see that signature very nicely on there. So let's go ahead and look at the NAM. And the NAM, we're going to look at the dew points, I guess, because it's already on there. You can see that similar signature right there on the NAM with the dew points there. The NAM keeps the higher dew points away from us. And I trust the NAM more, and the NAM keeps the center a little further east too, as you see when we take a look at the radar. All right, the simulated radar. I'm looking at the highest resolution NAM, 3 kilometer. You can see here is the heavy rain, and the NAM has the heaviest rain going over eastern Long Island because it has the center of the low more over here. I'm in more of an agreement with that versus the GFS. I think the GFS is too far west. Oops. I want to change it to this. Alright, so I just want to show the low and the isobars. So again, here it is. And you can see the center is further east. The center stays more just off the Jersey Shore and then goes over Long Island. That's on the NAM. So I'm more, yeah, and they're going to actually get some snow way up north and maybe in the mountains too. Not here though. So let's take a look at the wind speeds and see what the NAM has for wind speeds for us. So the NAM again has the stronger wind speeds off the coast. We're definitely going to see sustained winds, probably 20 to 30 miles an hour over Nassau County, the city, and New Jersey. But the east end could have sustained winds of 30 to 40 miles an hour and gusts up to 60. So that's a concern right there that the east end is going to have when this storm goes by. You see, it's not tropical because you don't have an eye wall, you don't have any of that. But what you do have are the strongest winds on the northeast side of the storm, very much like a tropical system. But that's because the gradient, the isobars are tightest over there between the high and the low. So again, you have these strong winds. There's going to be a significant amount of coastal flooding, I think. Then the News 12 barely mentioned that in their news tonight. They were speaking about national news because they don't believe in covering local news. But anyway, yeah, this storm is going to be bad for the South Shore and the East End. So you can see the winds. Let's go and look at the rainfall on the NAM. Let's go and look at the total rainfall and see what it has. So it has the heaviest rain. Actually, is the heaviest rain. A little stripe on the Jersey Shore, perhaps up to 2 inches. For the rest of the area, it looks like between 1 and 2 inches. I think there's an agreement that it's going to be around 1 and 2 inches across the area. The wind is going to be where there's going to be some variability, I think. Let's go and look at let's look at some other models here. Let's look at the RGEM. All right, RGEM total accumulated precip. RGEM has a little heavier precip over the east end there, over 2 inches perhaps for the rest of us between 1 and 2 inches. And if we look at the RGEM's precipitation here, you can see here that it has the heaviest rain. So the RGEM also has the heaviest rain and wind hitting Suffolk County. And that seems to be the agreement, I think, that the worst of the rain and the wind is probably going to hit Suffolk County. But we're all going to get into the wind, but the worst of it is going to be over Suffolk County for sure. And then it pulls out. Alright, so let's take a look at the radar right here. We're looking at the radar. I'm just trying to move this over here. We're looking at the radar of the storm right now. So you see here it is right here. Here's the main low, the parent low, and here's the coastal low. Alright, this coastal low actually traveled, was a remnant of Willa, traveled along the Gulf Coast, and now it is over the eastern seaboard, becoming a coastal low, extratropical. But maybe some, weird hybrid characteristics in there. Who knows with those warm water temperatures? That's always the variable. But you can see all this rain hitting our way. So we're going to be getting a lot of rain. And it's not going to be fun tomorrow to go out. I recommend staying in if you don't have to. We're going to look at the wind gusts now on the Ventus sky. That'll be the last part of this video. So let's move it up to 7 a.m. That's where, yeah. So you can see, look at these wind gusts. We have wind gusts of, close this. We have wind gusts of, around 7 a.m. we have the wind gusts of into the 40s here. And 40s all around, even some really strong ones in Toms River too as well. As we go into 9 a.m., we have some of the stronger wind gusts now. Just south of Long Island, could be some 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts right along the water there in Toms River. So these are some pretty strong winds. Not quite as bad for Long Island yet, but I think as we move to 11, I think the stronger winds now shift over Long Island. Yeah, we have wind gusts. Could be almost some hurricane-force wind gusts on the east end there. It wouldn't surprise me. They're going to have some really strong winds tomorrow. And again, Toms River also, there's going to be a lot of coastal flooding along the Barrier Island seaside heights because that wind is literally going to just force the water right in. All right, these are wind gusts. These aren't sustained winds, but definitely scary. For us in Nassau, wind gusts up to 40s. There's going to be a lot of power outages tomorrow, I think. I think there's going to be a lot. Look at that. Wow, there's the front right there. Look at that. Shows up really nicely. Look at that. There's the front. This is the warm front or stationary front that the low is forming on. You can really see that very nicely. This is around 3 o'clock in the afternoon now that we're looking. All right, 7 p.m. Here we go. The winds do quiet down. You can see that front is just right over Long Island there. All right, so we'll look at the sustained winds now. We'll back it up to 7 a.m. again. Sustained winds. Sustained winds will be, it depends where you are, but again, right along the water there, it's all Seaside Heights. You're going to have sustained winds up 40 miles an hour, which is going to be pretty bad. Inland Nassau County at 7 a.m. sustained winds 20 miles an hour. 20 miles an hour. We go to 11. Sustained winds start going up. They start coming down a little bit on Long Island, coming down a little bit in Jersey, but along Long Island, there's going to be sustained winds around 20 miles an hour. But just offshore, on the South Shore, sustained winds could be 46, 50 miles an hour, perhaps. That's pretty bad. That is pretty bad. That's why you don't want to be on the South Shore. Though some people would rather be there. So that's this video ain't about that though. Yeah, we have sustained winds 30, 41 miles an hour. Now we're looking 1 o'clock. Move it over to 3 o'clock, and sustained winds start calming down. You can see here is that front right here. That is just offshore. So that is it. Really shows up very nicely. Actually, go ahead and look at the waves. That'll be the last thing we're going to look at here. All right, you can see some really high waves. Also 17, 18 footers around 2 p.m. Let's see. Toms River has 13 footers. Let's see. In the morning, 11 feet. 11 feet, 10 feet. Let's move it up to, that was 8. Let's move it up to 11. Yeah, some 20 footers out there. Wow. So we're going to see, this is going to be a significant coastal flooding event, and I was shocked that News 12 barely covered. Well, I shouldn't be shocked. I shouldn't be. That's what you get with Altis. You know, they don't want to be a local news station. So the waves start coming down by the evening, I think. So yeah. So what the impacts are going to be of this is there's going to be strong winds. I would say on Long Island we could see up to 20,000 power outages. There's going to be coastal flooding along the South Shore, East End, and this is going to do a number on the fall foliage too. So this might, if you didn't get out and enjoy the fall foliage, a lot of it might be gone. It might be. I know a lot of trees haven't changed yet, so it's possible there could still be some. But anyway, that's going to conclude this weather update. So we have a big coastal storm heading our way. The good thing is it's a fast mover. It's going to be in here and it's going to be out of here. So we'll have the worst of it. The worst of the weather will be probably between 5 a.m. and 1 p.m. All right, so 6-hour period of some pretty bad winds, heavy rain, and coastal flooding. So that's going to conclude this weather update. And I'll try and keep you posted on the storm as the day goes on tomorrow. Probably another update, probably sometime, if my power doesn't go out, probably sometime in the early afternoon. Thank you for watching.